what I feel like is happening right now.
That's that. Yeah. Turn this down. Turn this down. How you feeling?
I am feeling blessed and highly favored, just wonderful.
I heard that. I heard that.
How are
So
you?
again, I'm still in that space of feeling appreciation for the moment.
Yes.
I'm in a space of acceptance, self-regulation, but
Mm,
really acceptance.
Self regulation. Can you go a little further into that for anyone who may not quite understand what does that mean? It may be a foreign concept to them.
Well, definitely, if you go to the old Google deity, um,
You and Google.
you can find different articles on that. But for me, self-regulation, which is a core goal of therapy as well. I'm not providing therapy advice here, but in psychotherapy, teaching clients self-regulation is, you know, that's key. Internal regulation. So for me, self-regulation is constantly remembering the rules. I forget the rules.
Mm,
Uh, Rules such as wherever attention goes, energy flows. And it's not so much that I forget it, it's just that it's not held in mind. Oh,
yeah.
that is not held in mind. It has to be held in mind, you know. Uh, in my faith, Joshua 1 and 8, I will meditate on your word day and night. What it talks about is the process of not torturing oneself with reading the Bible, but the process of holding a concept in mind long enough for it to be integrated into one's inner being, like to move from understanding to understanding. Because most of us, whether you want it or not, we stand under the truth. But when you start to see, you can stand in on top of the truth. That's a whole different level. That's a whole different uh, experience. It's moving from eye level to sky level. Matter of fact, that's why I'm gonna keep this up here. Lit effect, elevating perspectives, moving from eye to sky. You know,
Mm,
and so self regulation involves knowing that my mind has wants. And again, it says in my faith, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. My mind has wants. And when it gets what it wants, it only wants more. My mind will never stop wanting. My design, it's based off of survival through acquisition because it's not self-sustaining. It needs things. It needs sustenance. It needs food, water, shelter. Like there are certain things that it needs, and then it fears it'll lose these things, and so then it needs to try to protect these things or build on these things to get more of these things. Like it's always more wanting. What does a person with power want? Typically more power.
right. Right.
you know. But also it says in my faith that if we delight ourselves in the Lord, He will give us the desires of our hearts. So distinguishing the wants from the desires. The wants come from the mind. The desires are heart centered. Those are in alignment. Those come from your higher self, your true self, your spirit self. So self regulation is that when my these eyes sees things that appear to be upsetting, such as we scheduled an event for February 9th. Them ticket sales ain't going up there yet. I'm looking at them ticket sales like these things like on a fast. Like what's going on? Yeah, like we need this. We need these tickets to be multiplication. Like I mean, like at this point we should be turning people away. And that's the way I saw it.
Mm, yeah.
But when you have what you don't want, the first step is to accept. When you accept, you can have peace because when you have what you don't want, you're upset. But when I accept, I can have peace because I surrender preference or attachment to what it is that I saw or that I want but may not have right now. When I sever that attachment, I no longer need that to happen to feel a certain kind of way. So when I suspend preference, I no longer project an added value over here, and therefore behind my back, remove added value from this over here, this experience over here. When I let go of preference, I can be at peace with all things. When I let
Mm-hmm.
go of preference, I can experience a peace that goes beyond my logical understanding.
Yes.
And in that peace, I can gain clarity. I will
Yes.
gain clarity because now the muddy waters are still. I can see now, you know? And so that's the process. Seeing that my mind gets rattled by things, the impulses, the fear impulses is energized by fear. So it's always looking for something to freak out about. But then remembering not to fear because that's false evidence appearing real and it's not authentic. It's not aligned with who I am or who you are, who we are truly. We're aligned with love
Yeah.
and we're always making that choice, love or fear in any moment,
Yeah.
you know? So we got to choose wisely. That choice is always available to us. So when my fear mind, my animal mind, this human mind starts to kick up, I got to remember spiritual truths like turn the other cheek. Darkness cannot dispel darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot dispel hate. Only love can do that. That's spirit mind, ego mind. They're going to
Mm.
play with me. If you want drama, then I want the same thing. Come see me. That's ego mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
This this whole turn the other cheek and show love, that reads error to the ego mind. It appears to be weakness to the ego mind because the ego mind is based on domination and possessiveness, control, force, which it confuses with power. But in the spirit mind, you're in your power.
Hmm.
In the ego mind, you have no power, or you
Say
cut
that again.
your power. And so you choose to be blinded and cut off from your power. And so you have to use force. But in the spirit mind, there's no need for force because you're in your power. Power is a force, but force in of itself, absent love, is not power. You with me?
I'm with you. I'm with you. That's good. Yes.
So yeah, thinking about these ticket sales, we got to sit back and reevaluate because it
Hmm.
costs money. It costs money. Like we were doing, we wasn't doing no regular old, backyard meeting. You know what I mean? There was
Yeah.
no discount pricing. So to not have a turnout, you
Yeah.
know, I have to face, I have to accept that if
Yeah.
if that is going to be the case. And what do I do with that? I could run all the way from it and say, okay, well, I'm not doing anything. Period. It's not meant for me to do. Or I could look at some areas that I've been told I need to improve upon or spend time with. Certain areas of my internal garden, such as connection. And so forming a sangha or a community of like-minded individuals who are all meeting for the same purpose. I've been a
Right.
hermit for some years now. So forming a sangha has not been a high priority for me. But now more than ever, it's came into my vortex, that word. And the School of Outliers was meant to be a tribe. So now I'm getting this message of building it up, you know? And so leaning into that discomfort that, hey, maybe this just represents that lack of networking, the lack of connection that you've had. People don't know you. Why would they show up to your event and pay money to show up to your event if they don't know you? I'm like, well, I know me. And
Mm.
if you ask me, they get me at a gross discount.
That's that's real. That's real. I agree there.
If they
That's
knew
real.
like I
If
knew,
they
you
knew
know what
the
I'm saying?
value that 5 minutes, they would say, "Oh wow, this is a steal for sure."
That's what I'm saying. And same for you.
Thank you.
So it's networking. We just got to get
Yeah,
our
yeah,
networking up. and then we'll put it back up there. But we would have to lean into that discomfort in order to like come to
Tell
a
me about it.
wise, course of action, and have clarity, have serenity about it, have equanimity about it, which is to
Yeah.
remain in a state of serenity in spite of being bombarded by stressors. You know, look, we have faith. That's what faith is about. Feed our faith and our doubt will starve to death. We have to continue to walk in faith no matter what it looks like. So that's the
Right.
whole duality and fight between the ego mind and the spirit mind, between the pain body and the spirit mind is that it cannot understand spirit, but it wants to operate based off of what it thinks it knows, its logic. But then it says there's a way that seemeth right to us, and the end result is death.
Hmm.
And death takes many forms, you know, death of a dream, death of a relationship, you know, death of a goal. Like, is our logic, but our logic is limited,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, but how you feeling? Come on, I'm gonna bring you in this more.
Oh. Well, you touched on so many different things. I'm like, I don't know where to begin. Because one of the things that you said with acceptance, like that's been something I have been learning heavily. And it's a very hard thing to accept, to just sit and accept where you're at, what you're in, to move forward. But it's funny because I actually was telling a client this morning that about anxiety, you know, and as a somatic therapist, I'm always encouraging to not push away the anxiety, not just say, okay, let me breathe it out and let it go, but bringing curiosity around it. And so therefore recognizing that it's there, acknowledging that it's there, and also accepting that it's there. And when you bring that acceptance, then you start to see, oh, the anxiety is not so big anymore. And it was a phrase you said the other day that I really loved, but I just can't recall it right now. So help me out here.
There's a lot of phrases I say.
I know
Well,
you do. You do.
let me
I
see.
need to start writing this stuff down and make a book
Me,
about
me too. Me too. No, but there are a lot of phrases that are said.
it was acceptance. Oh goodness. It's because you said it so eloquently. Um about like accepting and how it lessens the resistance. And the resistance is what's at the base of the anxiety, right? It's a resistance to something, a fear of something. So when you accept it, it helps to lighten that resistance. But it was some way you said it so eloquently and I loved it. I need to get it
Mm.
tattooed on my arm so I can remember.
I'm doing, and me too though, because it's an onward thing. Moment to moment, we got to make these choices.
Yeah.
So I'm just passing more lately than I have in the past, but still, I still stumble. But even when we stumble, we still stumble forward. But acceptance, we
Right?
can't change what we don't accept. And also acceptance is the letting go of resistance to the present moment, you know, like to be fully present with this, not I don't want, and trying to
Right.
look away from the I don't want. Like, no, this is here. What'll help you look at what's here is to suspend judgment. So that's called radical acceptance,
Mm-hmm.
to allow in
Mm-hmm.
the present moment, to be with the present moment without judgment. Many of us are um, 12-degree black belts in judgment because judging is a function of the mind,
Yeah. Yeah.
thinking and judging. Not knowing, though, not knowing. But judging is definitely one of those functions. And so we spend so much time judging that when it comes down to practices of acceptance, it's hard to do because we essentially scare ourselves out of accepting certain things because we're so used to judging. So all we see is our own judgment of that thing. And that makes it almost impossible to forgive either other people or ourselves because we still have judgment there. Love keeps no records of wrong, meaning that love is not going to judge.
Right.
Understanding that certain conditions are met within us and we present certain ways based off of those conditions. Who I am today is not who I was tomorrow. Who I am now is not who I was last week. Who I was before I met Shanquila is not who I am now. All of these collisions and
That's the
interactions
truth.
and studying and all of these moments and experiences, they help us evolve and see our highest truth. Like it leads us towards the truth. We all have individual truths or subjective truths. The way I look, whatnot, subjective truth, but there are universal axiomatic truths that all truth sits on top of. Not only do all truth sits on top of that, but also all lies sits on top of that. A lie does not um, is an absent connection to truth. Non-truth sits itself on top of truth. Again, if I wanted to pretend, for instance, to be a teacher, I dressed up like a teacher, went to a school, had a phony badge to get in as staff. More than likely, everybody would treat me like a teacher. Even if they didn't recognize me, they would just assume I'm a new teacher. You know, we had the fake heiress fool some billionaires to let them
Yeah.
on the golf course. Like when you can we can put on acts because and be fooled by these things because the ego is focused on appearance, what things look like,
Mm-hmm.
but things are never as they seem.
Mm-hmm.
The spirit sees essence. And so my acceptance comes from understanding that while my ego may see one thing, its views are full of distortion and interpretations based off of this distortion plus this toolbox of limited understandings of life. But when I tap into that, when I plug in and I tap into that flow knows. Those are those spiritual axiomatic truths. And it helps me to understand everything that I'm experiencing here from a place of clarity, love rooted clarity. In that space where I may have wanted to condemn from the ego, now I want to extend compassion. Love never fails. I have that tatted on me. Love never fails. I'm a true believer in love. Like I was writing letters to love as a before I even hit puberty. I was writing letters to love. For some reason, me and love always had this connection.
Yeah.
Like love never fails, and I'll stick with that. I'll stick with that. In sunny days and sunny times, when it rains, when it storms, you know, I'm gonna rely on love no
Mm-hmm.
matter what.
Yeah.
I don't know if I said anything in regards to what you said that I said before, but
You said a lot of wisdom there and a lot of truth. So it's all good.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
I know that this is a short session, so you tell me, is there anything on your mind that you would like to briefly broach?
Briefly, um, I mean, I feel like, there are so many things we can discuss that is really hard to just like we need a hat with all the little topics and
Well, quickly, why do we want to talk? Why are we holding this event where we're struggling to get tickets for right now? What is the purpose of this event?
stop focusing on
You know?
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me
Acknowledge it, have acceptance there, let go of the
mhm,
resistance.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, 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 yeah. Why are we doing this for the people?
Other than being called to our purpose, um, I'm going to speak on me, why this is important. Because there's a huge gap I see in wellness in the spiritual community. And when I say spiritual, I mean like, help me out here. I mean like
Religious
very religious community. Yes.
and spiritual.
Yeah, and spiritual, religious and spiritual. And for me personally, even in my own walk, like it's I personally felt like I just didn't find in my own healing journey um someone that offered mm, I feel like we gotta cut this and I gotta think about how to word this.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No, you saying just let it flow.
Okay.
Don't hold your tongue.
So for me in my spiritual walk and my healing journey, I was looking for a somatic therapist or practitioner, someone who practiced a lot of like wellness and holistic modalities. But I guess I was looking for someone whose faith also aligned with the faith that I had, and there it was hard to find. Therefore, I saw this gap. There is a lot of like holistic wellness practices that a lot of people consider so woo woo without even knowing what it truly is.
It's
They just
God.
say, "Oh, no." But that's what we need.
Yeah.
We
Eh,
need to be letting things go from our body because and that was another thing too, and we discussed this before, like, you look around in the churches and you see so much trauma,
Swimming in it.
unspoken
Just
trauma. Don't talk about it, just pray about it.
yeah. Yeah. Pray about it. Pray about
Yeah,
it. Because we don't know what else to do. I mean, we skip over that, the scripture where it
faith
says, do
without
not
works is dead.
conform. Faith without works is dead. That one, we skip over a lot of them. Uh, do
Yeah.
not conform to the patterns of this world, but be ye transformed through the renewing of your mind. Like, clearly, we skip over that one because we're not even trying to think about our
Yeah.
minds.
Mhm. I
Besides,
don't
I ain't
think we
crazy.
really and I think, in church, you're not taught what that scripture truly means.
Hmm. Mm.
And I mean, like, it's easy to say, "Oh, I'm gonna change the way I think," but it's like, you gotta break it down. It's not that easy. You gotta understand why. What is the pattern? Why are you thinking that way?
You gotta go into the space of having a beginner's mind for an adult,
Yes.
which is
Yes.
adopting that curiosity mindset like a child.
Yes.
You know, like get your dictionary in etymology dictionary, which is the origin, shows you the origins of certain words, and then we got to break it down. So, what does it mean to think?
Hmm.
Descartes says, "I think, therefore I am," which uh, spiritually astute would say, "I am, therefore I'm thinking." Something is thinking. It's the stream of consciousness. So even understanding what thinking is and
Yeah.
why you're thinking about what it is that you're thinking, because you could be thinking so many different things. Why you're looking at what it is that you're looking at. Like to understand that you have to understand the mind.
Mhm.
And so there's so many truths, when it talks about renewing the mind, you're talking about the field of mental health. Mental health is just not blowing up right now. But when you begin to understand truly mind, body, spirit, my
Right.
sister over here is has a gift. She is an angel in body works, and I've heard of the testimonies. Like there's some transformational things happening with her practice because consistently because she's in her passion. That's her gift. She body practitioner, like she got that. Me, my thing
Hmm.
is my little obsession, my secret obsession is the mind.
Yeah.
So I hit you with that mind. I'm gonna let you know, like more than what it is that you may have heard about.
Mhm.
because, and this not from a place of arrogance, but humility. I'm not the average in anything. I've never been. I've
Hmm.
always been an outlier. So I'm going to be an outlier therapist as well. And so I don't want to just know. I want to know,
Right. Right. Yeah.
you know, and then eventually we move towards converging, uh, combining the two converging, seeing that the physical is a manifestation of spiritual truths, and so the mind becomes more like a shadow of the larger consciousness. But we needed it in order to ensure survival, like mechanisms, organisms, singular celled organisms, even needed some type of thing in it, conscious in it, that would prioritize survival. We have that same thing.
Yeah.
But the logic that it uses, though, is based off of separateness.
Yep.
God
And
exists in a space of oneness,
yep.
you know? Like it's
Yeah.
backwards. What were you about to say?
Oh, I was just gonna say, science shows that it takes 90 seconds for an emotion to pass through the body.
Mm,
Therefore, if it's lasting more than 90 seconds, you're feeling an emotion more than 90 seconds, what's the thought behind it? Because thoughts equal emotions, emotions equal feelings. So
mm,
it is one. It works together. But we don't know how to connect it to one and question and bring that curiosity around it. Like, okay, I'm experiencing this feeling, this emotion for this long period of time. What are the thoughts that are on a loop?
hmm And then going to core beliefs, you dive even deeper and ask
Mhm.
yourself, what emotion is under here that I've been avoiding, that I've repressed?
Yep.
When you
It's
get to that
twofold.
emotion, you begin to understand that deeper emotion is giving birth to hundreds, if not thousands, of thoughts and patterns.
Yep.
So then you allow the emotion, you deal with that core emotion, which is going to constantly come up because it's been buried for so long. It's going to come up for a while, but you have to steadily release it. It's not this thing that sends you into this space of losing your mind. People feel losing their
Right.
mind by looking at their mind. No, that's your mind trying to scare you into not really realizing truth. Because again, non-truth sits itself on top of truth. And so if you stare enough at a lie, eventually you pierce down into the truth. And so the mind comes up with ways for you not to look at your truth, believing that it is doing its best. It doesn't mean harm. It just believes that if you look at it, that you can't handle it because of the pain, the recording of the pain you experienced back when. But there never
Yeah.
would be a now if there were not a then. There would
Yeah.
never be a now if there were not a then. That
Hmm.
happened back then. And what happened back then, you will never experience the way you do now when you think
Hmm.
about back then. It'll be intense. You
Right.
can convince yourself that you are feeling the exact same, but you're not because you're
You're
not
not.
there.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's highly, highly, highly unlikely that you will ever, ever, ever be there again.
Yeah.
Um, we can keep on
That's
going
so
deep in
good.
this, but really,
I know.
you know, when I again, there's so much in the church, and outside the church, community activists, lay people, atheists. This is for everybody. We have this religious theme, for the mental health crisis and mental and religious communities, but in truth, it's for everybody. It's equally important for everybody because those on the outside can better understand those on the outside of the church community or in the religious communities, spiritual communities, can better understand them. They can better understand people in spiritual and religious communities, can better understand people outside of those communities, and we can finally begin to move forward with solutions that are rooted in love. If
Yes.
we can understand each other, if we can understand how each other are programmed and how we all are being fooled by the same mechanisms, no matter where you stand at. That's why I won't argue about a person's belief system. I don't do that because again, I know that no matter where you stand at on the earth, if you dig deep enough, we all reach the same center. So know what you know, but just know more about what it is that you think that you know. And then
Mm.
eventually you're gonna tap true knowingness. That's why I don't abandon where I started. Why would I abandon where I started at? I don't need to go anywhere else.
Hmm.
All I need to go is deeper and deeper and deeper. Period.
Man,
You got
that's why
anything
this
you? Yeah, you got anything
I
you
was
want
just
to
gonna
say?
say
Yeah,
that's
please.
why this dynamic is so good because it's like, with me, you don't need to think about anything. You just need to feel it. When you feel into that, that's when you start to like things arise and you're like, oh, that's what it is. And then it's like, okay, Harry, take it on over. And then you help create that change in the thought process with the ego and all that. So it's a beautiful partnership that I think
Yes,
everyone just needs to experience. And that's
yes,
what it truly is, especially, you know, it's funny because my clients say that they're like, you can't describe this. You have to just experience. And it's an experience. So yeah, they need to buy those tickets now. I mean, buy those tickets.
hmm it's different from an observation. The ego can describe an observation, but an experience,
Hmm.
and it's in that experience that you get true knowingness. That's true
Yeah.
knowing
Well,
in the
because it's not cookie
experience.
cutter. So I mean, how can we explain something that is very intuitive and unique to each individual person?
Precisely, precise.
So
You
yeah,
teach them a system. That's
yeah,
what my system, and I'm gonna go after this. But the lit process begins with acceptance, then clarity, then reconditioning, then envisioning, and then choosing. Now you're always choosing,
yep,
but your
always.
choices aren't your choices until you uh, become liberated from the small self. So your choices are limited to the small self until you reach a certain stage in this process. But again, it's not cookie cutter. So acceptance for me may look different than acceptance for Quills, uh, and for you and anybody else. That's why understanding the tenets, the principles behind this is so important. Because if you understand the principles, then you can put it into practice. Bruce Lee, he was a better philosopher than he was a martial artist, and he was the greatest martial artist of all time. But his uh, his style, Jeet Kune Do, it was created based off of his philosophy, the intercepting fist, the form of formlessness, flow like water. It was his philosophy, his study, and his true study and in his culture, the wisdom of his culture that he used to create and master first, be taught first, master several different art forms, and then create his own, which was the form of formlessness, where you can flow like water. Anyway, we'll talk more about Bruce Lee next time as well. But y'all want to get these tickets. It's going to be in Baton
Yes,
Rouge. We may have to change the date to let people know, make these collaborations, network a little bit more, and let these people know that we out here. But we want a full room. That's what we see.
yep,
We see a full room. We see connections being made. We see elevation happening through these
yes,
connections. Synergy. We're looking for a synergistic effect. We're moving people from eye level to sky level. You
yeah.
know,
Anybody who's ready to be part of a tribe, their tribe.
that's it. That's it.
Yeah,
And if we sound like your tribe, we speak in your language, then you know what it is. Come reach out. Let's link up.
come
Let's do
on,
something. So,
come on.
anything you want to say before we get out of here, sister?
No, thank you for today. This was beautiful, as
It most
always.
certainly was. Most certainly
Yeah.
is. Yeah, I really
Until the
enjoyed this.
next time.
Until the next time. But y'all
I'm
know I'm
goofy
gonna go out with it.
sometimes.
You're goofy a lot of times, but I like that. We need that goofiness in our life.
I am who I am, people.
Till next time.